here we are. 10 years after the universe started, 6 years after the first film, 4 years after it was announced, Avengers Infinity War has arrived. As many of you know, this is probably the most excited I've ever been for a film. Having been a huge fan of the MCU since seeing the first Captain America in the cinema as a 9-year-old, the culmination of this entire universe, yeah, that's gonna get me pretty excited. So, enough intro, let's talk about if it lived up to the hype. And as per usual, I'm going no spoilers first, and then with a big warning, I'll get into the spoilers. But with this review in particular, because this is such a huge and highly anticipated film, I would recommend not watching this video before you've seen the film. Again, I promise, I will not spoil anything, but I wanted to go into this film having seen as little as possible, and obviously this review will have some footage that's been officially released. Just saying, for your own experience, I'd say save this for after the film. Okay, I have avoided all reviews for this movie, so I have no idea what the general public feel about it. My own opinion, did it live up to my unlive-up-to-able expectations? I really don't know. I know what I liked, I know what I didn't like so much, we'll get into those specifics. But as far as my overall feeling with this film, I was kinda stumped when I first walked out. And even now, I'm not entirely sure on my overall stance. Was it as good as I'd hoped? Was it a bit underwhelming? It's kind of in the middle. I know this is weird for a review, but this has just so much to process, for a movie that I've been this excited for to do so many things that surprised me. So hey, let's talk specifics, and by the end of writing the script and talking about this film, hopefully I'll have more of a solidified rating. First off, when talking about movies, I always start with the cast, and this one is seriously too big to go through. You know that almost all of them are going to be great, so let me just point out some favorites. As per usual, I loved RDJ and Tom Holland, Benedict Cumberbatch got a lot of time to shine, and I like that, and Chris Pratt was also fantastic as Star-Lord, balancing the funny moments and the heartfelt moments really well. Now, one that I think is worth individually mentioning is Thanos, because it's been built up for a while now how amazing of a villain he's supposed to be. And yes, he does have more character than most of the MCU villains, but really, I don't think I found him as compelling as, say, the Vulture. He was a good character, and I understood him, but something just didn't totally click with me, where I was like, oh man, this is the best villain of all time. Might have something to do with the CGI, which for me had the Snoke problem. Both of them have excellent CGI, but there's just something about it that looks a little off and takes me out of it. But yeah, he's a pretty strong villain, in every sense. I gotta say, bringing all these characters together, the Russo brothers and Marvel did a pretty stellar job. The whole most ambitious crossover thing. Yeah. Now yes, there are some characters who I wish had gotten more to do, like basically you've seen 90% of their part in this film in the trailers, and there are some characters and subplots where they spend a little more time than I think was necessary, but on the whole, it's very impressive how well they did this. Just like in Civil War, every character gets a moment to do something cool, or gets a funny line, or something. And I mean every character. This whole thing is such a brilliant idea, just like the first film, getting people very familiar with these characters so they already know them and like them and are more invested in them, and then setting them in a big team movie. It's not only super cool to see these characters cross over, which we'll get to, but also makes these big character moments feel so much more fulfilling, because you already know them so well. Great example is Spider-Man. Thanks to that one amazing Spidey film, he's now one of the characters I'm most invested in, and I loved a lot of his moments in this film. Also, the same a bit with Black Panther, and the Guardians, and Star-Lord in particular. It doesn't feel rushed, it feels so earned. It's the same thing with the first film. There's context on who's who, so if you're going in totally fresh, you kinda get it. But having these built-up characters with adventures and backstories already just enhances the experience by a lot. Speaking of which, the Avengers meet the Guardians of the Galaxy in this for the first time, in different ways, which I won't spoil. And yeah, it was pretty much just as cool as I'd hoped. Seeing the Iron Man and Star-Lord back and forth was fantastic, and the rest of the interactions were great too. In terms of the action, the Russos are famous for it, and here, yeah, it's still great. The big battle sequences and everything, very well done. Exciting, intense, little heavy on the CG occasionally, especially in one fight in particular, but still. The big Wakanda battle is phenomenal, and I really enjoyed one of the fight scenes earlier on. Now the trailers have made this look like a super dark, emotional experience, and in some ways it is. We'll talk about that in spoilers. But don't worry, it still has lots of that Marvel humor. And for the most part, as you'd expect, it's very funny. Emotional moments-wise though, this has more than the others, that's for sure. Most of them worked, there were a lot where I was almost crying, crying a bit. And then there were some where I kind of wasn't as engaged in it as I wanted to be. I have to say, even though I don't think this is the best MCU movie overall, this may have the most amazing moments of any of the films. And by that I mean, like, the highest number of super cool moments. There were so many times where something happened in this film, and I just had this huge grin on my face, like I was a little kid watching the first film again. I'd rewatched a bunch of these films right before walking into this one, and while it's not totally necessary in enjoying this film, it just gave a really nice perspective. It's also just a lot of fun to think about how this all started. The opening of the first Iron Man is so grounded and real-world feeling. To think that Tony Stark in that film would one day go off into space and meet the Guardians of the Galaxy is just insane.
Perhaps if you intend to visit other planets, we should improve the exosystems.
Now yes, we do have to talk about the negatives here, because for as much as I wanted this to be a perfect film, it wasn't quite. There are some little things. For one, while most CGI is great, there are some moments where it is a little subpar. I don't know what it is with the Russos, but in their last two films, they've had amazing special effects throughout, and then 1 or 2 moments of just really bad CGI, or a terrible green screen. Gotta say, didn't love the effects in the Black Order, especially the one who looks like he's out of that Warcraft movie. Or game. While the movie made me laugh quite a bit, a few jokes don't land, or do land, and then go on for a bit too long. One with Drax, for example, was super funny initially, and then kinda dragged for just slightly too long. A little nitpicky, but, it was there. As these Marvel movies often do, a lot of serious moments are undercut by jokes, but in this, there were only 1 or 2 times that I found it egregious. For me, this is sort of a weird movie. Because I was watching it and enjoying myself, but also thinking, okay, so this is not the perfect masterpiece that I was very unrealistically expecting, but at the same time, I don't really feel disappointed. It's weird, because I remember seeing Age of Ultron and just feeling super disappointed for a while afterwards. But here, even though it wasn't as good as I was hoping, I didn't leave feeling bad or underwhelmed. Maybe that's because I was younger when I saw Age of Ultron, I don't know. But I really liked this and left feeling mostly satisfied. Even though the ending is, well, we'll get to that in spoilers. So overall, Avengers Infinity War is a movie I really want to see again. 1, because I enjoyed it, but 2, to go in and watch it with more reasonable expectations, and an idea of where it's going, and seeing how the experience differs. I know a lot of people, including myself in some ways, don't love it when a reviewer is like, I can't rate this one movie now over all the others. I have to see it again before I can make a definitive statement. So, I'm not gonna do that. I'll give this movie a rating. I'm just putting up a disclaimer that my thoughts may change over time as this movie sinks in more. Cause admittedly, yeah, this movie matters to me and has more of an impact on me, just based on how much of a fan I am, more so than a lot of the other quote-unquote normal movies I see. I suspect I'll like this more on the second viewing. At the moment, after 1 viewing, I really enjoyed Infinity War, and I gotta say, I liked how surprised I was, and putting aside the enjoyment, it is a massive, incredible feat. The fact that a movie with this much hype, and a movie that had this much to do, was this good is very impressive. But I also don't think all of the surprises were fantastic, and the movie does have noticeable flaws besides that. In terms of how I would rank it in the MCU, probably here. Again, very likely could change. Overall, I'll give Avengers Infinity War an 8.7 out of 10. Alright, we're getting into full-on spoilers now. There's some huge things to spoil in this film, so you have been warned. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, first off, I gotta talk about the Red Skull cameo. Come on. Yeah, I know it's just fan service, but I'm a fan. And I've been saying for forever that the Red Skull is totally alive out in space somewhere and he should come back. And he actually did. Sure, it's very obviously not Hugo Weaving, but that whole bit just made me smile so much, since he was the first villain I ever saw in the MCU. And yeah, I'd say that's a decently satisfying answer to where the Soul Stone is, even though I don't think anyone predicted that. Speaking of cameos, Peter Dinklage shows up, which was kinda fun. Some of my other favorite moments were when Cap showed up for the first time, and definitely when Thor, Rocket, and Groot landed in Wakanda. They did a great job of keeping that a surprise, which made it just that much cooler when it happened. Now, kinda related to this is probably also due to different expectations, but to be fair, these expectations are based on what people have actually said. The Russos have said for a while that Avengers 3 and 4 are connected, but they aren't a Part 1, Part 2 situation. And I was really happy about this, because Part 1's always leave me feeling kind of dissatisfied, in some way, even if they're really good. And then I saw this, and I was like, this is totally a Part 1. This is 100% a Part 1. And maybe that's not even such a bad thing. But then, I kinda just wish that they'd said that, so I was prepared for this, because I thought it was gonna be, sort of open-ended, like, hey, another adventure is coming. But this was like, flat out, a Hobbit 2 style cliffhanger. And yes, that was the first example I could think of.
What have we done?
It just left me feeling a little bit empty. Again, not dissatisfied, but just a little bit empty. Which I know some people will say was the point, but I don't think it was the empty way that the movie wanted. I honestly kind of feel like I haven't seen the full movie, which might be why I feel weird judging it. I want to be like, well, these characters didn't shine as much as I was hoping, but I feel like I haven't seen the second half of this film, and I don't know how much they will shine in the second film. So really, that just makes this a bit of a weird situation. Not entirely a complaint, I just wanted to mention it. Speaking of which, no Hawkeye, or Ant-Man, which again, I suppose I should have expected. It's not like they were anywhere near the marketing for this film. But especially with Hawkeye, the director said he has his own special journey in this film, and in reality, he's just flat out not there. I mean, I guess you don't want to spoil it, but like, flat out lying? I don't know, I can't really remember the last time something like that happened. It's not a huge deal or anything, it's just another thing that I was waiting for and then didn't happen. Like a lot of the shots in the trailers. The coolest moment in the first trailer, the big epic shot of the Avengers charging into battle. Not in the movie. Totally just there to mislead you. Hulk doesn't show up in the battle for Wakanda. Not at all. It's not like this might be a shot that they got rid of for the final cut. This flat out just doesn't happen, in any sense. And I guess that's maybe more the marketing's fault than the film's. I know. And again, it's not a big complaint. I get that they want to be surprising, and they made like fake scripts for everything, and they were trying to throw everyone off. But I just wanted to comment on it, because despite all that, I was still just waiting there for that epic shot to come, and it never came. Same with some moments, just being not as cool in the film as they were in the trailer. Like the Cap catching Thanos thing isn't as big of a moment as I thought it'd be. You may think these are stupid complaints, but this is why I think I'd like this more on a second viewing, when I know what to expect more. One big moment I gotta say I didn't love was when Peter promised to kill Gamora, and then had to do it, like, 10 minutes later. I thought it would be at the very end of the film, but it all happened very quickly and felt a bit rushed to me. And while Chris Pratt gives a really good emotional performance in that scene, I was like, I can't really get behind this, because this also seems out of place for Star-Lord to me. Having just rewatched the first Guardians before this film, Peter Quill shooting one of the few things he loves that is still alive in this universe, only a very short while after being introduced to the concept of doing that, I just don't see it. So that was just why I personally couldn't get involved in that moment as much as I wanted to. The end credit scene was quite fun, I'm glad Fury is back, and so I guess Captain Marvel will play a big part in Avengers 4, cool. And now, let's talk deaths. Specifically, that ending. My god, we gotta talk about that ending. First though, other deaths. Gamora died, which gotta say, that scene did make me choke up a bit. Loki died, which again was pretty sad, but I didn't cry, because my tears for Loki deaths have already been spent. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure the movie knew that though. Heimdall died, I'm assuming Korg and Meek are just completely obliterated by now. Asgard is really destroyed, the place and the people. And then half of the Avengers and half the planet were killed at the end. Half of the planet. Now first, on the civilian part of this was a ballsy and very Kingsman-like move, where I feared they may have jumped the shark, killing half the people in the world. Now the next movie is gonna have to be like post-apocalyptic in some way, I suppose, which I don't know if I like for an Avengers film. But they're gonna have to reverse this somehow, because otherwise, I don't really know if I'll be able to buy this world functioning, with half the people missing. Also, I feel bad for the TV shows that now have to play catch-up with this massive repercussion. And then, as far as the Avengers, it's quite noticeable that it's mostly the new slate of Avengers who die, and you can't see it, but I put die in quotes. It's a little bit of a shame that these characters all have future films lined up. Even so, that was an emotional scene, especially with Spider-Man. Again, I'm more invested in Peter Parker now than a lot of these characters, thanks to that film. And to see him breaking down like that, in exactly the way that that character and just a kid in this situation would, and him trying to go to Tony for help, it was so heartbreaking. Also, when Tony almost died, yeah, I started tearing up. I was so sure that was going to be the end of Stark. So, what's going to happen in Avengers 4? Well, I've seen a theory floating around, and I absolutely think this will happen. So notice how pretty much all of the original Avengers are left, plus a few extra? Well, I, and a lot of people, think this is going to come back to a line that's pretty prevalent in this film, which is something like, we don't trade lives. Those original Avengers are going to trade their own lives to bring back those who died. Okoye will trade for T'Challa, Cap for Bucky, Tony for Peter, and so on. Not sure how that would work for the rest of the world problem, but this would mean that those stakes are still there, and people did die. And it would also be the perfect passing of the torch, and incredibly emotional, and a great way to see our original heroes go out. We'll also get one last adventure with all these original heroes together, which would be awesome. What the rest of that film would be about? Maybe still Skrulls? I'm not sure. I'm sure I can make loads of videos on that in the future. Captain Marvel, Hawkeye, and Ant-Man will probably play really big roles though. So those are my thoughts on Avengers Infinity War. What did you think of it? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at bshell_Hudson, check out this podcast about movies and TV and whatnot I do every other week with a friend of mine. It's called The Poorly Planned Podcast, and subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.